Hello everyone, happy Friday. It's time for another episode of Friday Night Live with Lena Gersa. I am an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator from Cambridge, Ontario, Canada. And I am super excited to share with you today these three cards that use simple stamping. Simple stamping is simply where we use stamps, ink, and paper to create beautiful handmade cards. So tonight we are going to be making these three cards using the Ornate Style Stamp set. Now this is a stamp set that I featured in my Live at 5 video on Tuesday, and it is a gorgeous image stamp set. So this one has only images, so beautiful florals and some really cool filigrees. We're going to use all of those tonight. Also for my sentiments, I am using the Coordinating Ornate Thanks stamp set. So this is another one that I demonstrated in my video on Tuesday, but I wanted to show you some simpler options that don't require a whole ton of materials and tools. So I am just going to pull up my video here on my iPad so I can see who's watching. Let's see what's going on here. I gotta refresh my page here. There we go. Let's see who's here. Oh, I see there's 7 of us watching. Who's here? Oh, hi Deb. How are you? How are things in Calgary? Oh, we've got Sue and Laura and Betsy. Hi everybody. I hope you've had a good week and are staying safe and well. Hi Julie. We are making these 3 simple stamping cards today. And we are going to start right away with this one, okay? So this is super, super quick and easy, but really cute. And I actually have a good friend, one of my dearest friends from university, whose mom loves daisies. So I made this card with her in mind, and I'm going to put it in the mail to her this weekend because she is all by herself and elderly and needs a little pick-me-up. So I'm going to make another one of these for her, and I'm going to send it her way. Hi, Gail. Hi, Wendy. How are you guys doing? So I am starting with a piece of Whisper white cardstock. It is 5 1/4 by 2 inches. Okay, and we're going to use it horizontally, and we're going to stamp this cute little daisy image in Memento black ink. Now, one of the cool things about this daisy is it requires almost no coloring because daisies, oh, that did not stamp very well. Let's flip that over and try again. Do a better job of inking the stamp this time. That's a much better image. And we'll do a little guy down here. And I wanted these to kind of look like a patch of daisies, so I kind of wanted them to look a little bit random. They're not all going to be the same height. They're not all going to be facing the same direction. That was kind of on purpose. I also want to keep in mind that I'm going to stamp my sentiment in that top right corner, so I don't want to go too high up. Hey sister, how are you? Hi Julie, how are you doing? Gang's all here. You guys must be bored. It's social isolation this week. Okay, so there are my cute little daisies. I am going to color the centers of the daisies using my dark Daffodil Delight blends, okay? So I'm just going to use the brush tip because it's going to go really quick. So I'm just going to add some yellow to the center of each one of these little daisies. And right away, just by adding that little pop of yellow in the center, they suddenly look like daisies. You don't even have to color the petals, and they look like flowers already. I love that about this stamp. One more little floral center there. There we go. And then to color the leaves. Hi Sandy, how are you? Oh, you're assembling thank you notes. I have been doing a lot of mailing of cards in the past couple of weeks. I don't know about you guys, but lots of assembly and lots of mailing, lots of cards. So I am coloring the leaves and stems on these little guys using light, is it light? Yes, light granny apple green. Okay, so again, you could use whatever markers you have. You could use watercolor pencils, you could use re-inker and aqua painter. It doesn't really matter what you use to color these. I am very fond of my blends, but you can use pretty much anything you like to color these because again, there's not a ton of coloring that's required, and there certainly isn't any shading because we're just adding a little hint of color to the leaves and to the centers. So we'll just finish this guy up. There we go. And just a little bit of this leaf. There we go. Super quick. Isn't it amazing how those flowers just pop? Just with a little teeny bit of color. Gotta love daisies. Hey Jen, hi Leith. Hi, Mary Jane. Wow, we got lots of people on tonight. All right. So I'm going to layer. Oh, before I do that, I need to stamp my sentiments. I'm going to stamp You Are Amazing, which is, where is it? There it is, way down here from the Ornate Thanks stamp set. I love the font on these, and I love that they're little teeny tiny. They don't kind of dominate your card. So I'm going to stamp You're Amazing, just sort of in that top right corner, just like that. Okay, super simple. And then we're going to go ahead and layer that. This is a piece of Granny Apple Green cardstock. It is 5 1/4 by 2 1/8. Okay, so when I layer this, I'm going to have just a really narrow little border top and bottom there. How are you doing, Leith? I hope things are well for you. Thanks, Jen. I'm glad you like this one. It's super quick and easy. This would be a great one if you were wanting to make some little pick-me-up cards. I mean, who doesn't like daisies, right? Daisies have a special meaning for me. They were my mom's wedding flower. When my mom and dad got married, they did not have a lot of money. And so she went out and picked daisies that were growing along. They lived out in the country, so they were wild daisies that she picked. And she decorated the church with daisies and oak leaves. So daisies will always have a special place in my heart. All right, so to do our background here, I have a piece of Daffodil Delight cardstock. Okay, and I am going to stamp with this little bitty flower stamp using Daffodil Delight ink. So I'm doing tone on tone, and this is simply to add some texture and pattern to my card. So keep in mind that you do not have to use a big shot, you don't have to use ribbon and embellishments. You can just use stamps and ink to add amazing texture to your cards. Okay, so get creative with your stamps and see what you can do to create texture and pattern just using stamps and ink. I have to say, this style of stamping is not my norm. For those of you that watch my Tuesday videos, that is my go-to, okay? I am a gal who likes lots of layers and lots of embellishments and ribbons and bows and lots of bling and all of that kind of thing. So this simple stamping on Friday nights is a serious challenge for me, but I'm actually really enjoying it. It's good for me to try to step outside my comfort zone and try something that I am not really comfortable with. Okay, so I've just stamped along that bottom edge. We're going to glue that layered daisy panel on about 3/4 of an inch up from the bottom. I'm glad you're getting into some stamping, Leith. That is one positive that's coming out of this. I know you've always been so busy and it's hard to find time. So it's nice now that we all have time to do this. No more excuses, right? We have to start using all those craft supplies we've been hoarding, which is a good thing. Actually, I think this is going to be about an inch up from the bottom for those of you who are keeping track. Okay. And you're going to see that that extends just a little bit. So I'm going to pull out my handy dandy mini trimmer. And we're just going to give that a little bit of a trim there. There we go. Clean that up. That is what I use this mini trimmer for all the time. Because I am clearly not very good at measuring. All right, here I have a card base. The card base is 5 1/2 by 8 1/2, scored in the middle at 4 1/4. We're going to fold in half along our score line. Oh, Deb, you like watching me twice a week? Well, I like hanging out with you guys twice a week. It's fun. It gives me something to look forward to, and it gives me a reason to keep stamping. Because right now, while I'm not doing classes, or I'm offering online classes only, it's my schedule is much less busy. So if I don't have a reason to get down here and get stamping, I tend to do other things, which is not a bad thing because I don't often have time for other things. Like I've been doing more cooking and baking the past couple of weeks. My house is clean, all that fun stuff. Hi, Krista. How are you? Hi, Bonnie. All right, there we go. That was done. That's done. Isn't that so easy? Now, of course, we're going to add a little bit of sparkle and just take our Wink of Stella and add a little bit of shimmer to our daisies, because why not, right? We all need a little sparkle in our lives, and sparkly daisies will make everybody happy. I know they will for sure make my friend's mom happy. So that means the wink has to come out. There we go. All right, done and done. Super simple. Okay, thanks Martine, thanks Sue, thanks Sheila. Now I'll show you what I did on the inside. I just stamped a couple more daisies just to kind of decorate the inside panel a little bit. I'm not going to take the time to do that now, but that's an idea for how you could decorate the inside of your card. All right, done and done. number one out of the way. We're going to get a couple things out of the way, speaking of. And we're going to move on to number two. Number two is this one. Now this one has some fussy cutting involved. I have already done the fussy cutting ahead of time, so you guys don't have to sit and painfully watch me fussy cut. This image is actually quite easy to fussy cut. It is not hard at all. It goes pretty quickly. But first we're going to stamp our background. So here I have a 4 by 5 1/4 inch piece of purple Posy cardstock, okay? And I am going to do some stamping on that piece with Highland Heather. So I've got my Highland Heather ink, and then this cool sort of collage of little blossoms. I really, really like this stamp. So we're going to use that to add a bit of texture to our background. So I'm going to start kind of up in one corner. And I'm going to kind of try to interlock or have my flowers kind of coming down so that they're sort of almost kind of touching. I don't want to actually overlap because I don't want to blur the images. I want to still be able to see all of the little teeny flowers there. But I kind of like the, oh, there, see, I said that. I shouldn't talk and stamp. I have discovered that before. I cannot talk and stamp at the same time. Okay, but there's my background, super simple. And then I'm going to come in with my Highland Heather dauber, and I'm just going to add a little bit of texture to the background. Okay, so I'm going to take my dauber and I'm going to kind of do a flicky flicky all the way around the edge. I'm going to do a little bit more in the corners, just because I like that look. And again, this is going to give the illusion of another layer behind this purple Posy layer, but we're not actually going to put a layer there. So this is just a way that you can, again, make your inks work a little bit harder for you. Just another little technique to add a little something extra to your simple cards. If you don't have sponge daubers, you can use a makeup sponge. You can use a Stampin' sponge, whatever you happen to have on hand that will hold some ink. I like the daubers just because they give me some control and they keep my fingers a little bit cleaner. Okay, that's it. Super simple, right? Oh, you need help with simple stamping ideas too, eh, Sandy? Like, this little challenge that I've set for myself has actually been really, really good for me. So I'm glad that I'm doing it. And it's a bonus that I get to see you guys twice a week, or at least see you online, interact with you online. Let's put it that way. Okay, so now we are going to stamp this little band, this horizontal element that goes behind our bouquet. So this is another piece of purple Posy cardstock. It is 1 1/4 inches by 4. Okay, so 1 1/4 inches this way by 4 inches that way. And again, I'm going to come in with my Highland Heather. And I'm using this filigree stamp, this sort of decorative sort of scroll work stamp. And I'm going to stamp it from either end. So it's going to overlap in the middle, but that's okay because we're going to hide it with our bouquet. So now the trick with this is getting it centered when I can't look right down over top of it. We're going to see what happens. Aw, thanks, Mary Jane. That was not good. Did you enjoy watching me screw that up, Mary Jane? I hope not. Maybe you enjoy watching me mess up. I don't know. I've actually had people tell me they like it when I make a mistake because it makes them feel human. Makes them feel better about their own mistakes. Okay, that one's a little better. And then we're going to come in from the other end and attempt. Yep, that's good. All right, we're not going to worry about this overlap. Like I said, it's going to get covered. But that's going to give us a little bit of texture on our horizontal element. So I have here a piece of Highland Heather cardstock. It is 1/8 of an inch wider. So this was 1 1/4 inches. So this is 1 3/8 by 4. Okay, so we're going to layer that on there. And again, we're going to have that narrow little border, top and bottom. So we'll put a little bit of adhesive on here and pop that onto there. Just like that. Okay. There we go. Let's hope that's straight. That's not too bad. And then we're going to add that to our stamped background. Okay, so we're going to put that, again, about, put it up, I don't know, 1 1/4 inch maybe from the bottom edge. 1 1/4 inch, 1.5 ish. You can kind of eyeball it. I don't always measure all that carefully. I just kind of go with what I like. So sometimes it's a challenge for me to give actual measurements. It's kind of like when I cook. I just kind of dump stuff in a pot and I don't necessarily measure. And so then I'm trying to teach my son or my husband how to make something, and it's kind of a challenge because I don't really know how much of things I put in. Okay, so there is our background. We are ready to go ahead and glue that onto our card base. So our card base is 5.5 by 8.5. It is also Highland Heather cardstock, and it is scored in the middle at 4 1/4. Okay, I'm going to fold in half along my score line. And then we're going to bring in the fast fuse just because it's quick and strong. And I still have some, not for long, but I still have some. So we'll just pop that onto there like that. Okay. And then I'm going to bring in my fussy cut image. So I have stamped this ahead of time on Whisper White cardstock using Gorgeous Grape ink. Okay. So it's a darker shade of ink. And I'm going to color it using my sponge daubers. So for those who maybe don't have markers at home or just have really limited supplies, it is possible to color your image using daubers. Now you can't be super fussy about going outside the lines because it's going to happen with daubers. You don't have nearly as much control as you would if you used a paintbrush or a marker, but it's kind of a cool look. So I'm going to start with Highland Heather. I have my Highland Heather dauber, and I'm going to just tap it off a little bit on my grid paper before I take it to my flower. So I'm going to very lightly, in a circular motion, apply a little bit of ink to one of my flowers. Okay, so same thing, dab it off, and then I'm going to add a little bit of ink to this one. So I'm not pressing super hard because I want it to be quite light. Okay, it's different from if you're doing a sponge background. Okay, you're not going to press quite as hard. Next, I'm going to come in with some Seaside Spray. So this is one of our in colors. Thankfully, this is one that is not retiring. I will cry when this one goes because I love this shade. And I'm going to do the same thing on these little these remind me of little violets, these little guys here. So again, I'm just going to ink it up, tap off some of the excess, and then just really lightly go over my flowers. Now you're going to find that the ink, your stamped image, is going to smudge just a little bit. This one isn't doing too bad because I stamped it a couple hours ago as I was prepping for this video. If you find you stamp and then you go to sponge right away, it's going to smudge a little bit more. But again, I kind of like that look. It's kind of part of that sort of soft, sort of almost abstract look. Okay, so there are our little blue flowers. So cute. And then we are going to add a little bit of saffron to our daisies. We're going to have yellow daisies. So again, I'm going to take my dauber, just tap it off a little, and then add a little bit of saffron to my daisies. Okay, and I'm not worried too much about staying in the lines. I mean, I'm not going crazy, but I'm just being careful. And then finally, to do our leaves, we're going to add a little bit of soft seafoam. So we're going to bring in our dauber for that one. Again, tap it off. These are a little bit trickier because they're not round, right? The flowers are a little bit easier because they're round. The leaves are a little bit harder because they're kind of pointy. So it's a little bit harder to get that circular motion going and get even inking, but it's doable. You just have to kind of fuss at it. Now you could, if you wanted to be a little bit more precise with this, you could actually do this using a cotton swab. I have done that before when I've been really worried about trying to make sure I get ink only in certain areas. Now it is much harder to blend and it does take much longer, but it is doable. So we're going to add a little bit of green here and a little bit of green here and some more here. Isn't it amazing how just a little bit of color makes this floral image come to life? I just love this bouquet, and it's amazing how, depending on how you color it and the colors that you use for your flowers, you get such a different look each time. It's just pretty cool. All right, so there is our colored bouquet. Hi, Karen. How are you? Oh, thanks so much. That's really sweet of you. All right, so we are going to pop that on. We're going to cover that up where we overlapped. Okay, that's going to go on. I like doing it at a little bit of an angle. Normally we kind of see it like this. I kind of want to angle it a little bit just to be different. So we're going to pop a couple of dimensionals on here. Dimensionals are one of those essential tools that every stamper, whether they are a beginner or seasoned veteran, needs to have. Okay, so if you are new and you are wondering what you need to start, dimensionals need to go on your wish list. Okay, they are essential because they add, well, they add dimension. They add a little extra something to our designs, and I'm addicted to them. If you've watched my videos for any length of time, you know that I'm a little bit of a dimensionals addict. So there we go. We've added our bouquet. Okay. And then we are going to stamp a little strip. Now, did I forget? Yeah. Let me grab a little strip of white. I only have about 1 million of these things sitting around because they are offcuts from when I cut my layers, my Whisper White layers to go inside my cards. And I'm going to come back with my gorgeous grape. So this was the color that I stamped my bouquet in. Okay. You could absolutely use an aqua painter, Sue. The only thing is, if you're going to use an aqua painter, you want to stamp in a solvent ink, so the stays on. Because if you use an aqua painter with this, you will blur your image because the water-based ink will smudge. Okay. But yes, you could absolutely use an aqua painter on these. There are so many ways to color this image. So I have the My Friend sentiment, and a lot of people, when they look at this stamp set, let me just grab it here for a sec, they only see the thanks and the thank you, and they miss all of these little sentiments here. There are so many awesome sentiments that are designed to go with these, but totally work on their own. Like My Friend works for anything, right? And anyone. Well, anyone you know. It might be a little odd to send My Friend to someone you've never met, but you know what I mean. Okay, so I have stamped My Friend in the gorgeous grape ink, and now I'm going to trim my banner ends. So you've seen me use the Tailor Tag Punch many times to trim my banner ends, but I'm going to show you my little shortcut. This is how I did it before I had a punch to do it. So I'm going to take my snips, snip in as far as I want my little notch to go, and then I'm going to cut from one corner into the top of that slit and then the other corner. Okay, and that's how you get a nice even banner end. I've seen people or heard people say, oh, I can't cut that evenly to save my life. Well, you just have to practice, and if you start with that center slit, it helps you to get it even. Okay, where people struggle is when they just try to eyeball it and go in from one corner without having that center slit as a guide. That's where it gets a little tricky. Okay, let's get rid of that little guy. There is my sentiment. And now we're going to put that on here again with a couple of dimensionals, because why not? There is nothing wrong with double popping. Double popping is actually to be encouraged. Okay, so we're going to pop that on here and try and get it straight, just like that. Okay, and then we're going to do our little flicky flicky with the winky winky. So let's just do a little flicking. So to do this technique, all you're going to do is make sure you've got some ink in the barrel of your Wink of Stella. Okay, and then you're just going to take and flick it against the lid, and what you end up with is a really fine spatter. Now, depending on how much you have in the barrel, you may get more. This one's almost empty. I can hear it. It's wheezing. It's gasping for air. My poor little Wink. I've been overworking it. Time for a new one. Okay, so you get a really subtle, even shimmer across the front of your card when you do that. Okay, thanks, Martine. I'm glad you like that one. Okay, so that is number 2 done. Well, let's get this stuff out of the way. We'll get rid of all our daubers here. And we're going to get rid of this and this. And we're going to bring in number 3. Number 3 is this one. So this uses an essential technique that every stamper needs to know, and that is the spotlighting technique. This is one of the very first techniques I learned as a new stamper, and it's a great one because it is a great way to color an image, but you don't have to color the whole image. So you can highlight part of an image by coloring only a portion of it. Okay, so that's what I did with this one. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So I'm going to pull out a couple of pieces here. So I have, this is going to be my background panel. This is 4 by 5 1/4 inches. And it is Whisper White cardstock. And I'm going to layer this piece of Whisper White. This is 1 3/4 by 3. I'm going to layer this exactly where I want this part to go. Okay, so it's going to get just tacked into place, like with just a little smidge of adhesive. You could use snail. If I had snail handy, I would have used that, but I don't use snail very often because it does not stay put. It is very temporary in our climate and it annoys me. So I stick with my fast fuse. So I've gone ahead and glued that down. Okay. And Mary Jade, there is a promotion right now on this particular suite. I can send you the info after this video. You can get the entire suite, which includes the DSP and all those bits and pieces that I demonstrated on Tuesday. Or you can get just the stamp set. There are all kinds of options with that suite. The suite is a beautiful suite. So I am inking up my stamp. This is that gorgeous bouquet stamp with Memento black ink. Okay, and I'm going to position it just centered over top of that piece that I've glued down or tacked down. I haven't glued it. It's only temporarily tacked. Okay, now you're going to see that there is a line there. You see that? Don't worry, it will get hidden. Okay, and that is why we add a layer. Okay, so we're going to take this off. Pop that off ever so carefully because I've got a little bit of fast fuse on there. And then we're going to go ahead and finish our background layer. So this is a piece of Flirty Flamengo cardstock. It is 1 inch wide by 1 inch this way by 4 inches long. Okay. And we're going to glue that onto our background. But first we're going to stamp again with that filigree stamp. And I'm going to sneeze on live video, which is not going to be pretty. I'm going to warn you. Let's hope I can hold out until I get this card made. Because nobody needs to see that. Nobody needs to see me sneeze on live video. All right, so I'm going to do tone on tone again with Flirty Flamengo ink. I have my filigree stamp again, and I really like this. It's almost like you can create your own ribbon. So you're adding some really pretty texture. Now this is going to be a challenge. I got to move this way down here, you guys. I'm sorry. Because this one is hard to center. We're just going to hope and pray. Oh, that's not too bad. And again, we're going to overlap at the end, or sorry, in the center. Okay, again, that's going to get hidden, so we're not going to worry about it. And we're going to go ahead and glue that down onto our background panel. Doesn't that look ugly right now? It's amazing what we can do and what we can hide. Okay. I'm glad you're wearing a mask, Sue. I'm glad I'm not going to spread my germs. That's good. I actually have new masks today. A dear friend of mine who is part of my Stamping Symphony team very graciously made 3 masks for our family. So I went and picked them up today. So we are now officially protected. Not that my son has not left the house literally in a month. Like, other than to go for a walk, he has not left the house. So I don't know that he's actually going to need his mask, but I would still rather he had it, because if he gets sick or anything happens and he ends up having to go to a hospital or whatever, I want him to be protected. So, okay, so we have that piece done. We're going to layer that on another piece of Flirty Flamengo cardstock. It is 4 by 5 1/4 inches. No, it's not. It is 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. I cannot look at the comments right now. You guys are making me laugh. I'm not concentrating. 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. And I'm going to go ahead and layer that piece right on there. Okay. And I'm going to use Tombow for that, just so I have the wiggle time. And we'll pop that on there. Just like that. Okay, and then we're going to put that onto our card base. Our card base is Granny Apple Green. It is 5.5 by 8.5, scored in the middle at 4 1/4. We are going to fold in half along our score line. It was very nice, Sue. It was very, very kind and generous of her to make those for us. I could make them. I am actually a relatively capable sewer. However, I didn't have all the supplies, so when I asked if she would make them, I absolutely offered to compensate her, and she absolutely refused to take anything. So very, very kind. All right, so now I'm going to bring back that piece. This was the piece that we had layered on here. Okay, and we're going to do some coloring. So this is where it gets boring. If you guys need to go get a snack or fill up your wine glass, feel free. I'm going to color in all these little bitty flowers. So my colors I'm using are, it's the combo pack of Flirty Flamengo. So the dark and light Flirty Flamengo. I'm using dark Mango Melody and light Mango Melody, and I'm using dark Granny Apple Green. Okay, so those are my colors. So I'm going to start with these little bitty flowers. This time we're going to color them pink. So we're going to do the light Flirty Flamengo on these little guys. Sorry, this is boring. This is where I wish I could fast forward. I actually thought about doing this ahead of time, and then I had to go make dinner and forgot. So yeah, so you guys get to watch me color. I'm sorry. I know it's not very exciting. It's kind of like watching paint dry. So I'm going to color all of these with the light. I'll just tell you kind of where we're headed. And then I'm going to come back and just add a little bit of an accent to each one with the dark. I'm not going to worry about blending. Again, I was kind of thinking these were for simple stampers, right? So new stampers who may not have a whole lot of experience with blending color. So I didn't want to do anything too elaborate. I have seen some beautifully colored versions of this image using blends and absolutely stunning shading. And they are gorgeous. But we're going to keep it simple tonight. Okay, so then I'm going to come back with my dark Flirty Flamengo, and I'm just going to kind of follow those little hash marks on the blossoms here, and I'm just going to add a little bit of a dark accent. Okay, isn't that amazing how just that little touch makes them pop? It's just the littlest bit of ink, but it makes such a difference on these images. So I'll add a couple up here. And a couple here. I'm literally just drawing lines. Okay, super simple. Oh, you like watching me color? Oh, Chrissy, you filled yours. Okay, could you fill mine for me? Send it down when you're ready. Okay, so now we're gonna color our large flowers. I'm gonna color with my light Mango Melody. I'm gonna do the whole flower. Am I doing light? Yes, I am doing light. Sorry, I had to do a double take there. So I'm going to try and be quick about this because these are larger and I can kind of use bigger strokes. Get this all filled in here. This is getting a little bit on the dry side. I've used this one a lot. I really like this Mango Melody shade. It's the perfect sort of in-between orangey yellow. It's a great shade. So who's excited about the new catalog coming out? New catalog for demonstrators, we get to see it next week. I am so excited. And we get to start pre-ordering beginning of May. So you'll start to see some sneaky peekies from me coming up around mid-May. And then the whole world gets to start ordering beginning of June. Now, if you can't wait that long and you want to be able to order earlier, you need to send me a message and I'll tell you about how you can do that. Because I gotta tell you, getting early access to catalogs is pretty great. It really is. It's one of the best perks. Do I have enough? Yeah, I think I'm gonna make it. I'll just fill this in the rest of the way. There we go. My very, very dry Mango Melody. Okay, so now I'm gonna come in again, just like I did with the little guys. I can't wait for the new caddy either, Karen. I am super excited. And I'm going to come in just like I did before and just add a little accent to each leaf with the dark. Okay, and again, I'm using the lines in the stamped image. You don't have to really know anything about shading or coloring to do this. If you can trace a line, you are good. This is really, really super quick and easy to do. So we're just going to add little bits of color all the way around here and accent those little petals. There we go. Done and done. Easy, right? Okay. I'm also going to take my dark mango and I'm going to add a little bit of yellow to the center of my daisies. Okay. So there's that one and that one. So now we have our little yellow daisy centers, and then we're going to color our leaves with our dark granny apple green. So we're just going to fill this in like this. And it's amazing as soon as you add the color to the leaves how much more the flowers pop. I mean, they pop already because we've added color, but adding color to the leaves just brings out the beautiful florals so much more. So we're gonna just fill these guys in. We're almost there, you guys. Sorry for making you watch me do this. Thanks for hanging out with me. And this is actually part of a leaf. You do need to sometimes check back with your image to make sure you're coloring leaves, and flowers, because sometimes it can be hard to tell if you're only looking at a portion of the image. I've had to do that a couple of times with this. Now I've colored it enough times that I kind of know what is what. But the first couple times I colored it, I had to keep looking back just to make sure I wasn't coloring a flower green. Not that that was a bad thing, but it just didn't really work for me. Add a little color here. And this is a little bit of a leaf. And okay, where's the rest of that leaf? Hang on, I gotta turn this around so I can see it. This is part of a leaf here too. Okay, and then we are going to just add a little touch of color to that stem. And this stem as well. Come on. There we go. And then this little stem here. And then the last touch, I added just a little bit of green to the center of my pink flowers here as well. And we'll add a little green to that guy. There we go. Done and done. Isn't that pretty? So pretty. All right, so now we are going to layer this onto a piece of Granny Apple Green cardstock. Okay, so this was 1 3/4 wide, so this is 1 7/8, and this is 3 1/8. Okay, so again, it's 1/8 of an inch larger than our top panel. Okay, we're gonna glue that down. Hi, Margie, how are you doing? I love this color combo too, Sue. Again, those brights, I really gravitate to the brights. They're great because they include pretty much every color. The only one there's not a true orange. There's mango, but there's not a true orange in the brights family. But I find I don't really miss that because I love the other colors so much. So I've gone ahead and layered that on there. And then we are going to pop that up on the front of our card, and you're going to see that section that didn't stamp so well is going to be hidden. Okay, we're not going to see it. So we're going to add, where'd my dimensionals go? They're hiding. You're not good at measurements, Mary Jane. That can be a challenge sometimes. My husband is not good at measurements either, which is scary when he's doing home renovation projects. But if you think about, is it the fractions that you struggle with, or is it just the imperial? Because I know some people who grew up with metric in school find it really hard to understand imperial measurements. I was actually taught metric in school, but I do all of my card making measurements in imperial, which is kind of odd. I'm not sure why that is, but that's just the way it is. So there is our layered image, okay? And our last little touch is to stamp a sentiment, and we're going to stamp another little daisy to add as an accent. So this is a way to do your own DIY embellishments. First, we're going to stamp our sentiment. So this one is going to say, "For all you do." Oh, you understand. Oh, you understand. Okay, the 8s. You have like. Okay, so if you think about, okay, let's talk about that for a minute. So this is a teacher. This is the teacher in me. Okay, so this was 1 3/4 of an inch, right? So 3/4 is 6/8, right? So if you want to think about it as 1 6/8, to make this 1/8 of an inch larger, you have to make it 7/8. Does that help? Okay, so if you think about your measurement, so if this is 1 3/4, think equivalent fractions, make that into 1 6/8. And then this layer is going to be 1 7/8. Okay, I don't know if that helps at all, but just that's one way of thinking about it. Okay, so now I'm going to stamp my "For All You Do." So I'm stamping this in Granny Apple Green. Okay, you are absolutely right, Julie. The grid paper really does help. I rely on my grid paper a lot. Not so much for measurement, but for getting things straight. But it is really helpful for being able to figure out your measurements. If you put your layer down on your grid paper, it's easy to look at the ruler and see how much bigger you need to make it to get your layer. So that is some very good advice. Thanks for sharing that. Okay, so we are going to cut our banner. We're only going to do one end on this one because we are going to make a little embellishment, and I need my little daisy. I threw my daisy back in the other bin. Okay, so we're going to stamp a little daisy just on some scrap. And I'm really quickly going to color the center with my dark mango. Oh, this isn't looking so good either. I think I need a new set of Mango Melody. Let's try the other end. Oh, that one's better. And then I'm going to come in again with my granny apple. I'm going to color my leaf because I want to use my leaf as well. I don't need to worry about my stem, but I am going to color the leaf. Okay, and then you're going to have to watch me fussy cut. This is what happens when I get interrupted in my video prep. I had to go cook dinner for my 2 hungry boys. And I kind of didn't get it all prepped the way that I normally do. So you guys, you don't mind watching me fussy cut, do you? This is a little image. So tips for fussy cutting: keep your scissors stable, still, don't move them, move your paper. Okay, now I am doing this particular flower with a little bit of a border all the way around. You can do a border or not. You can cut right up to the edge. I find that having a border gives me a little bit more room for error. If you cut right up to the edge and then you cut over the edge, you can't really fix that, right? But you can always adjust the size of your border if you make a mistake when you leave yourself a bit of a border. So that's just my personal opinion on fussy cutting. That is why I tend to leave a bit of a border. I'm going to cut that bit off so I have less paper to deal with. So we're just going to come around, trim this off. And again, it doesn't need to be perfect. It's a flower, for goodness sake. It doesn't have to be perfectly perfect, because nature is not always perfectly perfect, right? It's still beautiful, but not necessarily perfect. Okay, so there's my daisy. Oh, you like cutting and chatting? Okay, that's good. Thanks, Krista. Sometimes I think people get annoyed when I know if I'm watching a video and people are talking and they're not working, I get kind of annoyed and I turn it off. I am talking and working, which can be dangerous, as we have seen. But I am going to attempt to talk and cut and not make a mistake. All right, so now we have our daisy and our leaf. So we're going to add a glue dot to the end of our leaf. And we're just going to kind of tuck that in behind our daisy, and that gives us a cute little accent that we can then add to our sentiment. So I'm just going to put a little bit of fast fuse on the end of that, and we're just going to kind of tuck that onto the end, okay? And then we're going to add a couple of dimensionals. Are we? No, we're only going to put a dimensional on this end because it's going to overlap our popped up panel. Okay, so this is going to overlap like this, and if I put a dimensional here, then this is going to be single popped and this is going to be double popped, and that is not a good scene. So we're just going to put fast fuse there where it's going to overlap, and we'll get rid of our backings, and we're just going to plunk that right on there. I tried to center it somewhat on my little pink strip there, just like that. Okay, there you go, done and done. You like that? Now, again, because I'm me, I'm going to add just a little bit of winky winky. I'm just going to be conventional with it this time and just add a little bit of wink to, I'm going to add it just to my yellow flower, just to make it pop a little bit, and maybe a little bit to the center of my daisy. And that is that. Super simple, right? So those are our 3 cards. Let me get all my scrap out of the way here, and I'll bring them all back so you can see them all together. So 1, 2, and 3. There we go. Simple stamping can be pretty, okay? Stamping does not require $3,000 worth of tools, although that it makes it more fun. And I would be happy to sell you $3,000 worth of tools. It is not required to make a beautiful card. All right. Thanks everyone for hanging out with me tonight. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. Be safe, stay home, stay away from people, and hopefully sooner than later I'll get to see some of you face to face at a class. In the meantime, thanks for watching and have a great weekend. Bye for now.